I've been. Dreams are seeds we plant, my friend. Dusty boots, but a heart of gold. Your story's waiting to be told. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small biz shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Cowbell ring and feel the beat. Hustle hard, don't take a seat. Every step you're blazing trails. Inventive journey never fails. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small biz shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small biz shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small biz shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Your time is now, your stars align. Your time is now, your stars align.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Elizabeth Eiss. And Elizabeth started her journey, went to college and got a degree in liberal arts. Came from a family of educators, but always wanted to go into business. And so after college, I got a job in insurance underwriting. Left that and joined a tech company, and found that loved the technology that she utilized in some of her underwriting roles. That tech company ended up failing or going under, but discovered loved entrepreneurship. So started a consulting business to help other startups with operations. I also utilized some gig workers and shifted the business to help other businesses find freelancers that match their needs, and expanding into some other things from there. So with that much as a quick introduction, welcome on the podcast, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here, Devin. Really appreciate it.
Excited to have you on and to hear your journey. So I just gave maybe a quick overview or a quick run through to a longer journey. But why don't we rewind and unpack a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started going off to college and getting a liberal arts degree?
Okay, well, it's kind of fun going back in the past and kind of think through all the steps that got me to today. I kind of think about my life and my career a little like river rafting. You're kind of steady going down the river, but there's eddies, there's rocks, there's fast water, slow water. But looking back, you kind of really see the path that you've followed, and it really all started with family. And the family, I grew up in a family of educators. And for the longest time, people had asked me, "Well, where did you get your entrepreneurial roots?" And at the end of the day, it's funny, but I think it was my educating parents, because instead of staying in one place, we moved about every 4 years to, my dad was a teacher, superintendent of schools, university professor, and so I was I kind of got very resilient and flexible in terms of moving around, which has been characteristic, frankly, of everything that's happened to me in my life. But at the end of the day, I had no business mentors. But I decided I didn't want to go into education. I wanted to go into business. And I ended up in college in liberal arts because I really didn't want to go to business school, law school, or anything like that. I just got a really broad education, but I landed a really fascinating job in the insurance industry. And most people kind of, go ugh when they hear insurance. But, I was in the commercial side and it was just so interesting. It really fed my curiosity. And I learned about how so many businesses work, whether it's construction or hotels, whatever it was. Every day was different. And you quickly learned what made a good company run well and what made a company struggle and have losses. And so those things kind of really carried forward to today, as I'll talk about a little further on. But at the end of the day, I spent more decades than I care to own on this podcast today working in the insurance industry. And I became a senior leader after starting as a commercial risk underwriter. And I've pretty much worn every hat, in terms of what I would characterize as being an entrepreneur in a big company. But I kind of didn't know what that was at the time, other than I was always thinking of new ways to do things and embracing technology and things like that. Even though we were running a very, my division was 3.6 billion dollar division at the end, and so it was a big business. But at the end of the day, 24 years ago, I up and left to join a startup, and I moved to New York City. And I think what it was is I had just been gotten a little tired of being an insurance exec. Like somehow that was the only industry I could ever work in. And going back to all the risks that I'd underwritten over the years, there's so many different kinds of businesses. So anyway, I took a role with a tech company. I was the president of that operation, and it really was a business around involved in expertise location. And it was a pretty novel idea at the time, but it was really to build a call center in a cloud that experts that were deep within companies could be linked, with the internet to be accessible to the outside world when they didn't normally have, client-facing roles. So it was a really novel use of the internet at the time, in the year 2000. And to make a long story short, it didn't succeed for a number of what I would say kind of structural reasons, but the ideas were really sound. And so the ideas live on in other technologies today, but that company did
Just
not
curious, kind
survive.
of what was the business the startup directed towards, or kind of what to do?
It started out as an organization focused on tutoring kids, and it was designed to offer kids tutoring help by qualified tutors over the internet. Say they had a physics exam the next day, and mom and dad didn't know physics. Then they could get help on demand over the internet for help. So that was the initial idea. But as we went forward, the education market was not particularly lucrative and it was challenging. So we went into corporate training and then building, from training into really building, networks of experts within companies that could, in a sense, tutor the public on whatever a particular topic was. So some of the concepts were same, that just the application was different.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
So you did that, and how long were you at that tech startup, or how long did you do that for?
About 5 years. So, we got pretty far along, in terms of investment capital, building the technology, building a client base. It was enterprise level or focused. But the ideas basically outlived the company, if you will, without getting into, too much detail there. But after that company failed, I knew I didn't want to go back into large corporate America. I really enjoyed working with smaller businesses, and I started to consult in New York. And while I have a really broad background, I might have been missing industry expertise or something like that. So early in the game, before contractors and freelancers were a thing, I discovered them on platforms like Elance and Odesk, which were the predecessor organizations to Upwork. And I was really a power user of those platforms. And I would get somebody to help me with, say, real estate industry expertise. And what ended up happening is that I could expand my skills by hiring great freelancers. I could create a more complete array of skills that we could deliver to clients, and that was really high value. And then my clients started to recognize that I could find some really great talent. And they started to ask me to find them freelancers. And that's really how the proverbial road began, because you start listening to what people are asking for and seeing how you can respond. And so I started to help other people find freelancers, but I quickly realized it wasn't scalable to do it one at a time. And if anything, I'm about how does an idea scale? How can we make it grow and be more effective and serve more people? And so ultimately, I decided that, to really serve the multitudes out there, and frankly, I'm particularly focused on solopreneurs and small employers, generally less than 10 employees. No magic to that number, but clearly focused on micro businesses, not trying to go up market. But I knew to serve that market, I needed to be cost effective. Plus, I wanted to have a scalable business model. So I decided to design and build a technology platform. So Results Resourcing, which is my company today, is fundamentally a technology platform. And it does matching and routing and a huge database of freelancers as well as clients and jobs. And so the technology really allows us to focus on a human interaction with a client, but still backed by technology to have an efficient operation so we can find good freelancers for our clients. So, that's really what I have been doing over the last few years, is going from that initial idea of people asking me to find them freelancers to how do you find and curate great freelance talent? Because so many small businesses and solopreneurs can scale operations if they let go of the back office and focus on the front office and what it is they deliver to their clients. And that's really what we're all about today. And like any entrepreneur, the business model has changed and evolved, and that's part of the journey. That's part of the fun, actually, is, when you stub your toe or you fail at something or you succeed at something, you leverage that and figure out how to do your job better. And over time, our business has changed. Initially, we focused on individual freelancers, and now actually we focus on finding teams of freelancers, age, back office agencies, if you will, that can really help clients with their outsourcing their back office. And ultimately, if I had to crystallize what excites me about what we do today, and the through line in the story that I've been telling, is that I really like to empower the purpose of small business owners. I mean, the country is largely made up, 99.9% of the businesses in the United States are tiny. And how can we make them more successful? The average revenue, according to the SBA, is like $50,000. Now, some of those might be side hustles, but my thought is, well, if all those businesses could double their revenue, the impact on their families, their communities, the country would be significant. And so there's a real meaning to this work of empowering the purpose of these small businesses. And I do it in a number of ways. I mean, obviously, finding talent is part of it, but I also feel like there's a role in helping small businesses step into the role of the CEO of their business, to understand the value of their time and to invest it in the things that are going to help their businesses grow and serve their clients, and find other ways to get the necessary work done to run a successful business by other people that can do it for them, the whole outsourcing model.
Now, just or maybe rewinding just a little bit. I mean, you touched on kind of, it was an evolution to really, or kind of from where you started to, hey, people are looking for assistance or identifying how you might find those freelancers, how they might incorporate those within the businesses and kind of get that value add. Kind of, or I guess a compounding question or compound question. One is kind of over, how long did it take to figure out that that was really where you wanted to focus the business, or kind of where that value might be. And then to kind of follow up to that, kind of how did you, once you figured that out, evolve the business to go in that direction?
Um, well, the beginning years I would say were on a slower trajectory because I was building a technology platform as I was serving clients and figuring out what they needed, and then I would translate that into, okay, how do we automate that? And so the first 4 years were slower, as I was building the algorithms and how to match and route and how to curate and have that translate into technology efficiencies while still having that human element. But there was kind of a landmark moment about 3 or 4 years ago when somebody that I knew, a friend actually, came to me and needed a PowerPoint help, for the following week. And I couldn't help him because I couldn't find, vet, and curate PowerPoint people, in the time frame he needed. And what he said to me was, I need confident, reliable, nice, and I need it right now. And so I just that was kind of a clarion call for me. Like, okay, that would be really different. How can I deliver confident, reliable, nice right now? And I already had the basis of the technology, but I needed to shift the business model. And that's really what made me shift from individuals to teams, because teams they're already a cohesive team of people that are confident, reliable, nice, and available right now if I can match them properly. And so I stopped trying to find individual freelancers, and focused more on agencies that could provide us a suite of services. And the other thing that was so good about that is that, many small businesses have many needs, and so they might come to me with a need that was kind of foremost for them. But when that problem got solved, then they needed something else. And that first freelancer I may have found them, say, was a bookkeeper, and now they need help with SEO and social media. Well, that bookkeeper is not the right expert for social media SEO. And so that was another beautiful thing about the teams, is within one team that was already onboarded and engaged with that client, they could have that bookkeeper for however many hours a week they needed, but also get an SEO social media person for as many hours that they needed. So there really was a way to compound work that was done for these small businesses because they needed so many different things. But at the end of the day, no matter what it was, bookkeeping or social media, they needed competent, reliable, nice, and they needed it right now. And so that really was the trigger that caused us to shift our model. And that's exactly what we do today. We can stand up a competent, reliable, nice team in 24 to 48 hours.
Awesome. Well, sounds like it was a good evolution of figuring things out and shifting and evolving the business to arrive at kind of where you're at today. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day, one before I jump to the two questions, I always like to ask towards the end of each episode, maybe one follow-up question, which is, if you're to take kind of where you're at today, now looking out the next, 6 to 12 months, kind of where you see things headed and what kind of things might look like, kind of what does that look like for you? What does the next 6 to 12 months look like for the business?
Well, I'm just as motivated today as I was, 10 years ago, just more focused, I guess. And so I'm really excited to kind of, keep taking the message out and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about it today. But we've kind of developed some interesting ways to help people think differently about their businesses. The first thing we developed is a little tool that we call the ROI of time calculator. And it really helps a business owner look at how they're using their time. And I kind of talk about work in two ways: core work or non-core work. Core work is the stuff that generates revenue or value or impact for a business. Non-core is the stuff you got to do to run a business, but doesn't really add value. Clients, it's kind of table stakes. And so I've built this little tool that people can take to really evaluate how much time are they really investing in the core work of their business. And that sometimes is a light bulb moment for the client, because on average, all the people that have taken this survey, it's a quick 3-minute online thing that we offer through our website. 43% of time is spent on core work of all the people that have ever taken this. And the average rate that they would say their value is $166. So there's no such thing as free time. It's just opportunity cost, depending on how you're using your time. So I talk a lot about investing time versus spending time. Investing it is in the work that grows your business, grows your impact. And spending it is on the stuff that's a cost to your business. And that's the stuff I encourage people to outsource. So that's a key thing, a tool that actually we help that people can use to kind of draw their own conclusions about how they're investing or spending their time. And then I've also built something that I call the delegation engine because a lot of
And maybe
people,
just to shift the question,
sure.
yeah, because I think that's kind of where what being built, and is it kind of the focus on sharing those tools, or kind of I'm a little bit looking forward to kind of where things are headed with the business, kind of what does that roadmap look like a bit?
What I'm doing with the ROI time calculator now is there's a public version of it, but I'm actually building a private version for our clients so they could actually take it again, when they start their outsourcing journey with our company and take it periodically to see how their numbers move. There's no absolute right number for anything, whether it's, their hourly worth or how much time they're spending on different things. But it's a way to actually measure whether outsourcing is helping them move their business forward by freeing up their time. So that's one example of things that we're working on to make that tool even more effective with our clients.
Well, awesome. Well, sounds like a great place to be, and some fun yet to come as far as kind of where you guys are headed. So. Well, with that, now as we've kind of reached the present day of the journey and even look a little bit as to where things are headed, great time to transition to the two questions always asked towards the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Oh, I think that it probably wasn't a specific business decision, but I can think of a couple of times when I stayed in a role too long. That there was wishful thinking in terms of what I wanted to accomplish, against outside factors or whatever, wherever it was. So that I can think of two instances when I probably should have just read the writing on the wall a little sooner without the optimism that I'm a perpetual optimist, always trying to make things better. And there were just a couple of times when things were not going well in certain businesses I was in that I really had no control over, and I
Hmm.
probably stuck it out a bit longer trying to move things in a positive direction. So I still feel that my instincts are right. I mean, I'm all about, well, I called my company today results resourcing because I want to resource results. I'm always working to find a win-win-win outcome. But sometimes, you've got to find ways to leave the party when it's not going in a good direction.
That makes sense. And that's always a balance. Sometimes, you stay in there because you think, oh, I'll stick it out a little bit more. I'll do this a little bit longer and it will change or it'll improve or it'll turn things around. And sometimes it's true. And other times you stick
Yeah.
it out and then you look back and you wish that you'd delegated that or shifted that or done something different. So always an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
Yeah.
Second question now that I'd like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what'd be the one rule of thumb you'd recommend?
Um, well, I've got a bunch of them actually, but I think, and I guess they're kind of related, but I think what I would emphasize is the power of networking. And sometimes when people start a business, they get very internally focused on what they're building. And, that's, you're excited about whatever you're building and you don't really continue to build your network. And when I left the insurance industry, I only knew people in insurance. I didn't know people outside the insurance industry. And I came to realize how important it was to be without an objective of getting work, really just networking for the sake of networking, meeting quality people, expanding your horizons, understanding what other people are doing in the world, because at the end of the day, it influences how you think about the world. So I think the power of networking is really important, and to build a network consciously and to keep it up even when you're tempted to hunker down and just go build. I think that it's a constant learning opportunity, and it's a constant mirror for the company that you're building and a mirror for each person as a person. So I think the power of networking is one I would really encourage people to be open to, and it's not scary. I mean, it's like when I first started networking, I mean, pretty much an extroverted person anyway, but I mean, if people are afraid, to go to a networking in live meeting, it's like the first thing I do is I go talk to the one person no one else is talking to. They're always really happy to have somebody to talk to, but it gets things started. And so I just think there's a way to dynamically uh, make networking work for you, no matter what your personality type is.
Awesome. Well, definitely a great piece of advice and a great rule of thumb. Well, now as we do wrap towards the end of this episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Well, definitely through LinkedIn. My name is Elizabeth Eiss, Eiss, and I'm on LinkedIn and very active. Love to meet people through LinkedIn. And you can also reach me through our website. As I mentioned before, our goal is to resource results. So our company is called Results Resourcing, and it's either .net or .com, and that's always a good way to reach me as well.
Awesome.
And
Well,
to
I
learn more
definitely.
about us and me in both of those forums.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So, with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now,
Thank
for
you.
all of you that are listeners that are out there, you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. Just go to inventiveunicorn.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And along that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Elizabeth, for coming on the podcast and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
The road ain't straight, it's got a bend. Dreams of seeds we plant, my friend. Dusty boots, but a heart of gold. Your story's waiting to be told. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small be shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Cowbell ring and feel the beat. Hustle hard, don't take a seat. Every step you're blazing trail. Inventive journey never fails.